Okay, welcome everybody to our, I don't even know how many Storytellers happy hour. I am here with my co-host Tihi Hayslett and our special guest Lisa Montagne. And I've got to tell you, we've got some fantastic stories that we are going to tell you. And we've also already started our little bit of happy houring a little bit early. So this may even be a little bit even more joyful. So, for those of you who don't know Lisa, so Lisa Montaigne is a writer, artist, college professor, and educational technology specialist from Southern California. She loves to dance to blues music, drink tea spiked with booze, and wear hats. Lots of them. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa Kastner. I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild Press. I'm also an author myself. I have over 200 publishing creds in various publications, magazines, newspapers, research stuff, you name it. I've probably done it in some capacity. And now I am going to hand this off to Tihi, who is going to explain what we're going to be doing.
Heck yeah. So I'm Tihi. I now live in Mexico. I've been in Mexico for a month. I am a writer who's published. I'm an author published under Running Wild Press. So my book, Dark Corners, was named Best Book of 2019 from Kirkus. So it's pretty dope. I'm so weird about talking about my own authorship. I'm sorry. I'm
And
super
he's
awkward.
working on a follow-up book that will be the shit. So I'm just saying,
Hopefully.
it'll be awesome.
I'm really hopeful. So the whole procedure. So before we started recording, we drew from a random bag of prompts of stories of different kinds, just like different kind of random prompts. So these stories that you're about to hear are ones that we didn't know we were going to tell going into it. We're going to figure it out on our own. And we went in a certain order. And so we're going to do that order, and we're going to start. We're actually going to start because it's kind of like a white elephant thing. So if you get a story and you're like, oh, you don't want it, it passes to somebody. So the first person assigned to a story was Lisa Kastner.
Oh,
And your prompt was moving into a new home.
okay. So in 2012, I got this amazing opportunity to move to California for a job. And it was wild, right? It was like all the stars aligned. I met my husband at that time, and I got this job offer from someone I used to work with who had moved on. You know, she moved on to this big consulting company, and I'd always wanted to live in Southern California. It had been a dream of mine since I was a kid. So this kind of like it ticked all the boxes, right? And I also happened to have just graduated with my MFA in creative writing. So it was almost like this big, huge life transition, right? So literally, I want to say 2 months before we moved, my then fiance got an offer to be the cultural ambassador to Kazakhstan. I'm not kidding. Well, it used to be a thing. I don't actually think this exists anymore, but it used to be that the United States had deals with other countries where they would pick different artists to come, and the artists would then perform for at different venues, and like universities, and they would teach at universities, and they would do different government functions, and then all that for like a stipend, for free room and board, and for travel, to have all their travel expenses covered. And on the side, they could do more
Spy. Spy.
no, no, no. Actually, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so how interesting would that be if he was? So okay, so
And
my
you've been married how long now? And you're not sure if he's a spy or not?
well, I don't think he's a spy. So anyway, so he leaves, right? Because I'm like, I can't say no to an opportunity like that's huge, right? So um, he was then later named Artist of the Year, by the way, by the president of Kazakhstan. Just sort of putting that out there. So okay, so he leaves, and so now I am here, and I have to move all of our stuff to an apartment in Burbank, California. So my husband leaves me all these instructions of like, where to get his stuff from a storage facility, and I make arrangements with a moving company for them to come get my stuff out of my apartment, his stuff out of the moving facility, and then I was going to drive to Erie, Pennsylvania, pick up my best friend, and then we were going to do a cross-country drive over 5 days to my brand new place. Okay. Now, in theory, this sounds amazing, right? Like I've got a moving company. They were recommended, highly, highly recommended by a dear friend. The guys show up and they look at my stuff and they just look like, oh my God, this is double what we thought it would be. Which is interesting because I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment that didn't actually have a whole lot of stuff. But it's fine. They ended up taking twice as long just to pack and load my stuff. And then we then go to the storage facility. And at the storage facility, there was something wrong with the lockbox to unlock my husband's storage unit. And I was literally standing there crying on the phone with my soon-to-be father-in-law, begging him to help me. And he just sounded annoyed, which I understand that. You've got this goofy white girl on the phone with you, and you're like, why is this chick bothering me? It's like, 10 o'clock at night. Shouldn't she be off doing something else, right? So anyway, we finally get in, and it turns out my husband, it wasn't everything in the storage unit he wanted moved. He wanted only some things, which made this very challenging because we had to figure out what stuff he wanted moved and what stuff he didn't want moved. So I just started BSing, like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. I have no idea what that is. Yeah, sure, that, whatever, right? Until we got to the point that the moving truck was like, my portion of it was full because this was like a cross-country moving truck. And since they anticipated it would be the equivalent of like maybe a 3-bedroom apartment, I didn't get the full unit, the full moving truck. I was reserved like a quarter of it, right? So we load as much as we can. It is like midnight before we're done. Now, mind you, we started all this at like 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm exhausted. Oh yeah, by the way, this is my birthday. I literally was moving on my birthday, which also happened to be the day before Thanksgiving that year. So I'm like, all I want to do is crawl into a bed and, like pretend that this happened. But instead, I get in my car, I call my best friend, I let her know I'm coming. I meet her at a gas station in Erie. Her husband drops her off. We load my car with her stuff. And by the way, I drive a Mini Cooper. So this isn't like we had all this stuff in my car. We had like the bare necessities of like luggage, my luggage and her luggage and all that.
And a bottle of water.
Huh?
And 1 bottle of water. That's what you could fit, right?
I don't even know if we had water, to be honest, right? So we get in the car and we just start driving. We decide we're just going to drive until as long as we can before we're both too exhausted, and then just find a motel and like, chill. So we do that. I think we did an unofficial Thanksgiving dinner in Texas. We found a rib place and had like, actually it was some of the best ribs barbecue I've ever had with like kick-ass slaw. The whole 9 yards. Like we were just like, yeah, like this is dope.
Texas barbecue for the win all the time.
Big time, big time.
All the time.
We make it to Burbank. Now, mind you, she's disappointed because she was hoping we could do like touristy stuff along the way, but I'm so paranoid that like we're not gonna make it in time because I have to be at work, by the way. Like I have to be at work that following week, right? So I'm like, okay, so we make it to Burbank, we get to my apartment and my new apartment, and guess what I forgot? I forgot that I needed a bed. Because it turns out what I did not realize was that the movers, when they said that we were sharing a moving van, they meant they weren't going to show up for at least 2 weeks. So I immediately then, we both go to the nearest bed purchasing company, buy a bed, right? And mind you, this also means I have no plates, I have nothing. So we go to Goodwill and get like single sets of like, anything that you can think of. Thank God I had clothes, right? And then we also get like, the basics in terms of cleaning and all that. So meanwhile, I haven't heard from my fiance in a while. And it turns out it's because when he hit Kazakhstan, so there are parts of Kazakhstan that literally there is like no internet. It's more so just like official locations, and he had gone on tour, and so he had to wait until he hit a place that had a spot. So he has no idea any of this is going on. So like the whole time I was having the drama over his moving or his storage space, he had no idea because I could not get in touch with him, right? So anyway, after all of this, I finally, like, I take my best friend to the airport, so she goes back, to Erie, and we hit a couple of spots in LA, right? Because I didn't want her to feel like, all I did was these overnight drives, because I think it took 3 nights and 4 days or something like that for the cross country drive. So the movers finally come, and somehow they managed to bust a significant amount of our like personal items. So we end up actually going to court over it. And they had to, they did a trade in kind. So they acknowledged, like, I think it was like $10,000 worth of damage. So they were willing to move to a move of like $10,000 worth of stuff of the remaining stuff out of my husband's storage facility back to LA. And that stuff came safely. But so that was.
It had better.
Yeah. Now, what's really funny, the lawyer they sent to represent them, she thought this was a slam dunk, like we weren't going to get anything. But I had emails from executives acknowledging, from that moving company, acknowledging that how it was handled was highly unusual, and they actually had effed up. And as soon as she, realized that, which, by the way, it took her a while before she would acknowledge it. And honestly, the reason she took the job was she was like an LA Cubs fan, and she wanted to go see a game. And she knew that she would miss the game if we kept effing around. So she finally just said, fine, $10,000, here you go.
Do you mean Dodgers?
Is it Dodgers? I don't know. I don't do sports.
The Cubs are in Chicago.
So then
that was the best follow-up question ever.
I have no idea. So there you go. So
born in LA here.
Yeah.
Send the hate mail to.
Oh man, I found out that the Mexican postal system is super slow compared to the US. So send your hate mail to me.
All right.
I'll get it like 7 months from now.
Wow. Oh my God.
Okay, well, remind me never to mail you anything then. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's pretty crazy. My Halloween costume is gonna show up in December.
Well, at least you're going to have a Halloween costume.
Yeah, but you know what? I would be willing to do a Halloween Zoom party with you in December. I would totally do that.
Now, Lisa, if we do a Halloween Zoom party, then you've got to give us some drink recipes.
Oh, sure. I got those.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Like
I'm doing a pumpkin juice one. I'm doing a pumpkin juice one on Sunday.
Oh, fun.
Nice.
Yeah, from fresh pumpkin juice.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty dope. That's really awesome.
Yeah, cool.
I'm excited.
So, my one time, my mom's from Louisiana, Texas, and one time my dad drove us from Ventura County, California to Texas when I was like 4 years old. I don't think I ever made that drive again in my whole life. So like, wow. And when I went study abroad, when I went to go move to England for study abroad, the airlines totally effed up my luggage. I had to stop in Mississippi or somewhere. And I didn't get my luggage for like, I don't know, 2 months or something like that. I took my makeup and stuff in a purse and maybe a little backpack or something. And then I had to go to Oxfam, the thrift store chain in England, to get clothes, and none of that shit fit me at all. And I'm a tiny person. I'm a tiny human, and all of the pictures of me there during that program are like these giant clothes. I look ridiculous. I look like a little tiny munchkin, like mushroom walking around in these giant clothes. I know. It was my mother who hunted down my luggage in the airline locker or something. I don't know what happened. I forget exactly. That's a nightmare.
Knock on wood, I've never had luggage go missing.
Where did you end up sleeping? Did you get an airbed or something?
Like the first night, I think we got a couple of like comforters, and then because the bed wouldn't get delivered for like a day, so yeah, just on the floor. Oh well, yeah.
Okay.
I've done it before.
Right? You do what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You pack a bunch of, this is what I did. I would pack a bunch of, if the closet was big enough, which is sad because I'm a gay person, I'd pack it with blankets and then sleep in the closet and then definitely wrestle with what that meant. I'm like, it's not cool, but this is what you have to do, I guess.
Like, I'm in the closet. Like, what is this?
I'm like literally in the closet.
Like, yeah.
Literally let me out of this damn closet.
Oh my God, I love that.
It was rough. It was rough. Florida is a crazy place that does crazy things to your brain.
I've heard that.
I have heard that. Oh my God. Totally.
I know. Yeah. Isn't it Dave Barry who writes about that all the time?
Man, that's going to be a prop for next season. It's just going to be Florida Story.
Oh, totally. Everyone's got one.
Oh, I have one.
Everyone's got a Florida Story. We need to do that.
I have too many.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a Florida story and everyone's got a New York story.
Oh, I have New York stories. I have many more New York stories.
These are good ideas for season 2.
Totally.
Yeah, and in fact, the New York story, I have a Harlem story, and specifically. Yes.
Oh.
Those are
I lived in Brooklyn. I was a Brooklyn person.
I loved Brooklyn. I just love New York, which is weird because I love LA and I love New York and I love like San Diego. So this makes no sense, but whatever. But I don't.
They're all sides of a triple-sided coin. Those 3 cities, and
That's
all 3 of my favorite cities.
Me too.
Besides New Orleans.
Oh,
New Orleans is great.
Yeah. But I can't do Florida. Like, I just can't handle it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, any fans or any people listening, trigger warning, I'm going to shit on Florida. Florida sucks. Florida's the worst place.
I cannot. And I own, so I had family in Florida growing up, and so I don't have the best memories because they were all kind of whack. Yeah. I have 2 cousins who hate my guts because our grandma, who I adored, who passed away when I think I was 7 or 8. I guess I was her favorite. And I was like, yeah, because you lived with her and I lived in New Jersey. So of course I'm the favorite, right? Because she would never see me, but they hated my gut. Literally we were teenagers and they hated my guts. And I'm like, are you for real? You haven't actually thought this through. You don't actually understand the psychology of this because it's not that hard. right? So yeah, I'm
When
like,
you're 15 or 16.
Yeah. No, Florida's a crazy place. I think that humidity
they just suck.
messes with you.
Yeah,
Just like,
yeah, and the gators, and the gators in your backyard that, try to snack on your flowers or
and the mosquitoes that are bigger than some birds.
Oh,
I mean, it's
the
like, oh
mosquitoes
my Lord.
alone. The mosquitoes alone.
I live
Mosquitoes
in
find me very delicious, so forget
Me
it.
too. I live in Puerto Vallarta, and we have most of those things, but we don't have them as much, and they're in different parts of the
Ah,
There's parts where the mosquitoes are worse than the other parts, so I just avoid those. There's parts where there's gators, and I can't walk to them because they're so far. You need to drive in a car, so I'm like, I'm fine on
you're
gators.
fine. You're
Like,
fine.
I'm in the perfect mix of like, if there's anything to like about Florida, it's here, and then all the things you don't like about Florida aren't here.
Got it.
You do have the iguanas, though, right?
Yeah, but the iguana left.
Oh, Jorge, no.
Jorge, if you love an iguana, let it go. And if
Oh my God, I love you so much. That is hilarious.
It's meant to be.
I think that has to be a t-shirt, man. If you love an iguana,
Let it go.
That's the t-shirt for you living in Mexico, Tihi.
I put food out for him for 7 days in a row, and he never ate any of
He
it.
never came back?
No.
Aw.
I put an alarm on my phone, was just like, feed Jorge, and I would get all excited. I'd like cut up all these vegetables. I'd go out on my patio, and I'm like, Jorge, hopefully you're here. And I'd like leave it for like a couple of hours, but not too long because it's the tropics. And I'm like, I don't want to like attract some other animal.
Darling, you
Like
need
gators?
to get an iguana, right? Can't you get an iguana?
I could
Yeah.
trap one in my neighborhood if I was quick enough.
But I mean, like, you could go to, are there pet stores? Now I'm like asking like stupid ass questions.
Yeah, there's pet stores.
You get an iguana at a pet store?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
Jorge, that's why you haven't found him, because somebody captured Jorge and like brought him.
someone probably captured Jorge. And people have been capturing gators for pets locally.
Woo! No.
No. The
Oh my God.
dinosaurs were extinct for a reason.
I have to say this because people in the US probably won't know this, but somebody captured a gator and they put it on their motorcycle, like lengthwise, like from the front tire all the way back to the back, and then got on the motorcycle on top of the gator to drive away.
See, this is the Florida story that we want next time.
And did they get eaten? Because
No, eventually, well, we don't know. I don't know if they got caught. They got filmed a lot. So eventually they'll be caught stealing a gator. Poor gator.
Right? Like the gator's all like, yo, I was just hanging out and you're all messing with me. Like, what is that?
And it's like, do you
Just
want to fuck with a gator?
Mm-mm. No. Why do that?
No.
That
No,
motherfucker's gonna eat you as soon as possible.
Right? It's gonna find you. Like, even if you let it go, it's gonna find you and be like, yo, you totally disrupted my life.
Yep.
We're getting the chow on. You know?
It's the reckoning now.
It is totally the reckoning.
The gator reckoning. The gator reckoning begins.
Yeah. Oh my God, 100%. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We're gonna move on to Lisa Montague. Or no, I didn't pronounce that right. Montagne.
Like champagne, dude. Like champagne.
The
Oh my
Pacifica
God,
is
we should do a
fucking
champagne themed one at some point. Like, maybe we do that for like Christmas or like New Year's. We're totally doing that.
Yeah, I can do
Yes.
that. I am
Yeah.
with that.
New Year's.
I think.
Right.
Yeah,
We can do
I've
a
been
fake
talking
countdown
about
and
my
everything.
trick.
We could totally.
Yeah, I've been talking my Jedi mind trick with my champagne bottle there. So that's the trick.
Woo! All right.
Woo.
That is great.
Okay, so, yeah.
All right.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montagne.
And your story prompt is getting your heart broken.
Mhm. All right, single white heterosexual female here. No, actually, I'm not single now, but I was for many years. And so we shall go to the beginning of this. I think I started liking boys when I was like 4, 5 years old. I mean, I knew that. Even though I was a tomboy myself, I liked to dress in boys' clothes. And I think I was just kind of like a well-balanced person. I knew my male and my female side really well. And but I knew I liked boys, even though my mom used to scream in my face, "You're a girl, Lisa, please dress like one." Until I was like 12 years old, she would scream in my face, "You're a girl." Because I loved my jeans and my t-shirts and my sneakers and my ball caps. And I don't know, I just didn't want to be like all the other little prissy girls. And now I'm wearing this hat with a giant pink bow on it. So, you know, I'm like Eddie Izzard. I have my boy modes and my girl modes. All right, so now that we've established my sexuality, I like boys. I get down with that. So my brother was 8 years older than me. Sadly, he passed away a couple of years ago. I miss him dearly all the time.
Wow.
But yeah. So he had all his older male friends would be around, you know, the house all the time. My mom was very friendly, very welcoming. She had everybody around all the time. Ours was the house everybody hung out at. We had a piano. We were all musicians. And so anyway, I would get huge crush on boy after boy when I was like 6, 7 years old. They were probably, you know, 15 or 14 or something, you know. It's horrendous, but really awful. But I remember I finally got an opportunity, my very first actual date. I was in junior high. I was in 8th grade. We lived in Thousand Oaks, California, which is in Ventura County. It's north of the Valley, folks. Those of you who know the Valley. I'm not a Valley girl exactly. I'm Valley girl adjacent. Valley girl.
That's awesome.
My sister-in-law is an actual Valley girl, but I'm a Valley girl adjacent. Anyway, so there was going to be a dance at my junior high public school. I went private school later, but public school and junior high. And so this kid in my math class, I don't know, he had on this like cool blazer thing. I mean, what junior high boy wears a blazer at school? I mean, I thought he looked stylish, man. I thought he looked stylish. And so I'm like, ooh, okay, yeah, all right. So like, I'm not quite sure how, yeah, like, all right. And he was handsome. Yeah. So I don't think he asked me or asked him, you know how junior high goes, you know, it was a friend who passed a note or whatever, you know. Somehow we were scheduled to go to this junior high dance together. And so I was excited. I think that next summer I got my real first French kiss, but I don't think I'd had one yet. I think I was like 13 years old around this time, about 13.
I love that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was around that time. It wasn't from this guy, but this was my first formal date. And so I was very excited. And so we went on this date, but you know, we kind of like met outside the gym where the dance was, and my friend was there to be my wing woman and like moral support and so on. And I don't remember much about the dancing part, if I'm honest, but I do remember it went sort of okay, not great. I'd had this other guy, older, who was 15, who was very interested in me and like followed me everywhere, and he was handsome, but I wasn't quite ready for that yet. Later on, that happened with that guy. But this particular guy, my first formal date, I was excited. We kind of hung out and stuff, but you know how it's junior high. I don't remember much of a relationship with him after this night. He probably just sort of faded into the crowd or was too immature to know what the hell to do or anything like that. So okay, I had my first formal date to a gym dance thing when I was 13. So let's fast forward 10 years. Okay. So I'm about 22, 23. I'd gone off for a little while, went to college, but then I was back in Thousand Oaks at home, and I went and was getting my teaching credential at California Lutheran University in Thousand Oaks, and I was living with my brother and his family at the time, and just being a 23-year-old and getting my teaching credential, working at a restaurant. Of course, in those days, I didn't have any insurance. And so I would go to the equivalent of urgent care, which I think actually was urgent care in those days. I think it was actually been around that long. I would go there to get my annual physical. I wasn't a dumb 22 or 23-year-old. Didn't have any insurance, but I would pony up the money to get checked, for, the clap or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
To get my, my lady parts done and all that. So I go to the urgent care for my physical, and I'm there in the stirrups, legs akimbo, right? All ready to get my exam. And this really tall, handsome guy comes in. He's the physician's assistant. And I'm like, okay, bingo. But I'm being cool. It's a medical exam. Being cool. Just trying to think of my baseball scores or whatever the hell it is guys do when they're right? Because it's a full-on up there exam, right?
Yeah, totally.
The whole wazoo. I was getting the whole thing. So I look at the guy's name tag. And as I was looking at the guy's name tag, he says, "Lisa, is that you?"
No. No. Ah.
It was the guy I went on my first date with in junior high. I am not making this shit up.
I totally just burped, but that was terrible.
Wait, there's got to be more. There's got to be more.
Okay, so it was him. It was him. I recognized his name. I mean, I look the same as I did when I was 10 years old. Like, everybody recognizes me from to now for decades and decades. But he definitely, was like over 6 feet tall, and he changed, but I kind of recognized him. I just recognized his name. Like, holy shit, yeah, it's me. And so he's like, wow, okay, well, I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm like, no, my legs are up in the air in the meantime. To drape across the thing, and he's supposed to give me
This is like the worst time to run into someone you know.
It's kind of awesome. I'm just saying.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, it's me. So I think we just sort of proceeded with the whole
exam
procedure, kind of fruition, completing our junior high date. I don't know.
I mean, what was the alternative?
No, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Clap my get legs together and I don't know. I was not that brave in those days. Not at all. Now I might, but not then. I was just like, I'm a good girl. I'm here to do my thing. I got to get my thing done. Okay. So we get done with the thing, and he gives me his phone number and invites me out on a date.
Holy shit. Okay. All right. So now what happens? Because that's
call HR much, you know. Okay.
This doesn't seem professional.
No. This isn't a full-on episode of Grey's Anatomy. I'm telling you.
It's seriously.
So,
Yeah.
Right. So I remember our date. I actually think we met up at the restaurant where I worked, which in the town where I lived was kind of the bar hub, and I worked there. I worked mostly lunches, but in the bar and stuff while I was in college. And we met up for drinks and ate and had talked and all that stuff. I don't remember. I think we had already done our thing. I think we'd done our thing. I think we consummated our thing in the office, and then that was it. That was it. I never saw him again. And I do remember feeling a little heartbroken about that because it almost seemed like it could be meant to be, right?
Right.
I mean, that is a great wedding story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I know.
Yeah, it is actually. Or like yeah, it is actually a great wedding story. We're using this, just so you know.
Okay.
Even though this is not the gentleman that you are currently married to, but
No.
Damn. Wow.
I know. Yeah.
Woo!
Okay.
You go.
I know, that was such an impressive story. I was like on this roller coaster.
All my dating stories suck. Like they're all like
Oh, honey, that is the tip of the iceberg. That is the tip of the iceberg, man. I could go. Actually, a friend of mine said I should write a whole short story collection called Red Flags.
Oh, you totally should.
And
oh my
all
God.
being
Brilliant.
dating stories like that.
You know what? No. You know what?
What?
We should do an essay collection for Running Wild called Red Flags, and it's all about your most effed up dating stories.
Oh my
Can I be the
God.
editor?
That would
Can I be?
it. Like, oh my
Can
God.
I be the editor? Can I be the editor?
Yeah.
All right, I'll be the editor of Red Flags, and I'll include that story.
Mine's pretty graphic. It's pretty graphic.
Oh, like
Do
I
we
care.
care?
We are
Do we care?
Tihi, you have to send something.
Okay.
And
I know exactly what story.
oh my God, you are totally sending something. Lisa, you're editing it. You're submitting your own piece. I'll edit your piece. We're doing this as
Got it.
2021 babies.
Yeah.
All right, so stay tuned, folks, for Red Flags.
Yes.
You heard it here first.
Oh
This
my
is the
God.
best name for that collection.
Freaking brilliant. It really is.
I'll give the credit to my friend Karen Pleasant for Red Flags. She's a
Yes.
therapist. She's like a social services therapist. So that was
And
her
it's so
name.
funny because what's hilarious is we've all had dates or dates where like the red flags were flying and we're like, I'm just really hot for this person, so I kind of don't care.
Yeah. You're like, I'm just going to see where this goes. It doesn't go anywhere good.
No.
That's my whole life. That's still my life. And I've been with the same person for 20 years.
It's still my life.
Oh my God, like you just sit there and you're like, all right, I know this isn't a good idea. I mean, now mind you, not that we're all so like, we don't do that consistently, right? But there are times when you're like, this
yeah.
is
Yeah.
damn hot, or there's just something about him that you're just like, I need this, right?
Absolutely. I can count and
There's
count.
this like
and
boo,
count.
boo, 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 going off in the back of your head. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
we're
can
doing
count.
this. I'll announce the
Let me
anthology
count
this
it.
weekend. We're announcing the collection this weekend. I'll set it up. Lisa, you're
Yeah.
it. Tihi, you gotta submit.
I will. I totally have the story. Also, it was a prompt on our very first episode, Bad First Date, was sort of getting at this red flag dating situation.
You're right. Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. We're doing it.
Awesome.
I wish I could tell my bad first date story, but that's not the prompt that I picked. But I will write it.
You will need to write it, right?
You write it for
red
collection.
flags. Oh
It is
God.
insane.
Great for it to be a collection because I think it'll be richer with more perspectives.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not recommend eating food anywhere near the story that I will write about my bad first date.
That's fine.
Like it should come with a trigger warning. It's bad. But changing gears in a much different way.
Yes.
Is my storytelling prompt the pandemic drinking story, which I was very excited to include because, well, Lisa knows me. Me and Lisa met in grad school.
Yes.
And I throw them back. I'm not going to say I have a drinking problem. I don't think I have a drinking problem. I can go a long time without drinking. But when I do drink, I throw them back.
Boom! Yeah.
Yeah, I have always been like this. All right, so weird tangential story. When I was in high school, my mom made a deal with me that I could take a shot of vodka for breakfast every morning and a shot of vodka when I got home from school in exchange to not going to parties in high school.
Okay.
So I used to wake up and take a shot and go to school. My friend Deirdre had some vodka and Gatorade in her thermos. So I'd have a couple more shots and then I go to class and do my things, whatever. Yeah.
All right.
So the pandemic hits and I just had caught my partner at the time cheated on me, and he decided to move back to New York, and that is its own garbage fire at the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm living alone for the first time in 17 years, and I'm thinking...
Wait. When is this? Sorry,
this
back up.
is March.
Oh, this year. Oh, shit. All right, I'm with you now, because I know who you're talking about. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm like...
I have a Facebook page, so I know all about it.
17 years? This is the first time I've lived alone in 17 years? Holy shit.
17 years. Yeah, I was like...
Right.
And it's a pandemic. And I was like, I wonder if I'm going to drink. I started drinking immediately.
Yeah.
I started with tequila because my ex left a big bottle of high-end tequila in his wake. And I was like, you know what? That's mine now. So I drank that. And I kept on the tequila train for a while throughout most of March. So this pandemic drinking story actually happens in May. So April, I make the shift to White Claw because they're healthier for you. They have less carbs, they have less sugar, they have less calories. They're, if you're drinking at the level I was drinking during the pandemic,
it's
you're
all
like,
White Claw. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, let's think of our health. Maybe
so White Claw it is then. White Claw it is.
Yes. So I start doing those, but then I start like the monotony of it gets a little boring. Like, you know, my life is going a certain way, and I actually was saving a lot of money during the pandemic. So I was like, oh, I want to treat myself. I want to get into wine. So I started getting into wine during the pandemic, which is also kind of weird because you can't enjoy it with anyone. There's no vineyards open, you know. So I'm living in Long Beach. I have this patio, and I had like a really long day at work, and it was a Friday. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I am getting some wine. I get some wine. I get a Malbec, which is one of my favorite kinds of wines.
Love Malbec. Oh my God.
I'm going to sit out here. I'm smoking a cigarette. I had taken a gummy. I was like feeling in the best way that I could possibly feel.
Love gummies. Bring it.
Then the worst thing happened.
Oh.
So I have a phobia of moths.
Really?
One of my best friends has that phobia. It's the weirdest thing to see in the world.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Even when they're dead, because I accidentally killed a moth just walking on the street in Mexico, and I freaked out.
Really?
Yeah, it's nuts. So I'm drinking my wine and I'm like, oh, baby, life is fine. I'm smoking my cigarette. And I'm like, I don't need no man. I'm single and it's a pandemic. And like, I manifest what I want in the world. And then my deepest fear shows up immediately.
Wow.
And I fall out of my table. My head hits the railing and I spill this red wine all over my shirt.
No.
And this is actually my balcony in Long Beach looks over a alley that is very populated with people. So there's like a huge extended family who lives below, and they had, I hate to blow up their spot, but they had huge family parties every weekend of the pandemic, at every point in the pandemic. And there's a lot of people who live in the apartments above. There's people who live down the street. So they all thought I got super hurt, right? And they had no idea what happened. They're like, did you slip? Did you fall? Like, are you okay? Like my wine glass broke. And like it's at night, it's red wine. It looks like it's blood. They're like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? And it's just a moth. But once the moth is gone, I am a different person.
Right.
It's left. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get up, and from me, who's just sitting there, who goes cranium first into a railing and then falls down on the ground and is screaming and flailing around and has red wine all over their clothes. And then suddenly they're just like, no, I feel really good. And like,
Oh my God, I love you so much. That's so awesome.
my neighbors are like, are you sure? Are you sure you're not bleeding? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I'm like, I just have a fear of moths. And they were like,
What?
what does that have to do with anything that you did? And I'm like, well, a moth came near. And I was like, thankfully I didn't fall over the side of the ledge, which could have been a thing. Because
Yeah, it could have been a thing. Mm-hmm.
I completely fell out. I lost all sense of balance and composure. I was like, it's a moth. It can't go anywhere near me. And if it touches me, I'm gonna die.
Yep. Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh. My best friend, I lived in Colorado in the late 90s, and my best friend, who is a psychologist, one time I went over to her house, and I forget what we were doing. We were probably just like drinking vodka, honestly. But so she comes out, and I guess she had specially laundered these fluffy robes for us to wear to like lounge in her house. And so I put the fluffy robe on. She puts her fluffy robe on, and like so if you don't know this about Denver, Colorado, in the spring, the moths are crazy. Don't go there. They're crazy. I would open up my car door and the moths would like fly out, like they would nest in my car and they would fly out the door. And I'm like, whatever, okay, fine. But my friend who lived in Boulder, Colorado, walked out, put her robe on, a dead mouse either falls off her robe or is like under like on the floor or something. And I have never seen a panic attack in any human being.
Wow.
Is that what happens to you?
Oh yeah. I completely fall apart as a human, and I need to be as far away from it. And like, it's a panic attack. And sometimes I have to like figure out how to breathe once the moth is gone.
I mean, I'm irritated with mosquitoes because they find me delicious and I get covered in them. But moths, moths.
And the craziest thing, because a lot of phobias are actually based on, or maybe, I don't know, I've heard this, that they're based on like childhood sort of trauma situations. So when I was a small child, my mom accidentally swallowed a moth.
Oh, interesting.
When we were driving in a car and it just flew in her mouth and she coughed.
Swallowed a fly, but she didn't die?
She didn't die. She just swallowed it. And then everything was fine. But I was terrified. And I'm pretty sure that's the source of my trauma around this phobia. However, nothing has been able to dislodge it.
Wow. That's kind of dope, actually. I don't have anything like that.
It's not nice, though. It's like
Uh,
you're fine under almost every circumstance except for this one specific harmless circumstance. And then you're like crying in the fetal position on the floor, like. And moths don't leave areas quickly.
no, they don't.
This is
No.
why they're evil.
Darling.
Well, I think they're evil cousins of mosquitoes. They're evil cousins of mosquitoes. Yeah.
See, now I grew up in New Jersey, and mosquitoes are just like so prominent that like they are the equivalent of vampires. I mean, like for real. Like you go out camping in New Jersey in the summer or the spring, and you are gonna get eaten alive by mosquitoes. So, nah.
And then people say that moths are just like butterflies, but different. Fuck no. That is some fucking bullshit. None of that is true. Butterflies behave so differently than moths.
They have a whole nother thing going on. Oh yeah, a whole nother thing.
Other thing. One of them is innately evil, and the other ones are just apathetic.
All right, I'll go with that.
Butterflies are apathetic.
Well, with that, I want to thank Tihi and Lisa for the most amazing Storytellers Happy Hour. We had a fantastic time. I hope you did too. I really, really do. Please, please, please join us again in November. We will have one a month like forever. And we just hope that you will continue to join us and just have a blast as we just sit here and BS. If you have someone that you would love to see join us in our Storytellers Happy Hour, email me at runningwildeditor@gmail.com. And I would be thrilled to reach out to them and just be like, yo, you need a drink and you tell some like bullshit stories because
It also
time.
It takes skill to have 2 minutes to figure out what your story is gonna be.
It does. It
based
takes
on a prompt.
like
so also big ups to Lisa Montagne. Like
seriously.
it's not easy to do this.
This is not easy, and we will put people on the spot. And for everyone who's watching, just so you understand, this is not edited. This is for real. Like the minute I hit record until I hit stop, there's no editing involved. So everyone you're watching, like these are for real storytellers. These guys know how to tell some shit. So if you've got a friend or you've got a fan or you got somebody that you're like, oh my God, I always wanted to hear like Neil Gaiman say some shit, email me. I wanted to hear, name your favorite person. I don't care who they are. They don't actually have to be a writer. They can be whoever. It could be anybody. It could be your cousin.
Comedians, your
Message
cousin.
me. Email me. Message me at Lisa D. Kastner on Twitter. Bang. We will make it happen. Or email me, runningwildeditor@gmail.com. Bang. We will make it happen. And we will have a ton of fun. So with that, thank you so much, Lisa Montagne. Thank you again, my co-host, Tihi. We always have a blast.
Yes.
I love you both, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much.